Helen, a single mother with a heart full of love for her toddler son Luke. Struggling financially, she juggled the responsibilities of motherhood with a demanding job as a housekeeper for the affluent billionaire Mr. Thornton. Each morning, before heading to work, Helen would drop Luke off at the local child care center. She kissed him on the forehead, whispered words of reassurance, and promised to return soon. It was a routine born out of necessity, a sacrifice she made to provide a better life for her beloved son. Working in Mr. Thornton's opulent mansion, Helen faced the stark contrast between her modest life and the extravagance that surrounded her. Despite the challenges, her love for Luke fueled her to persevere. Every task she undertook, every floor she scrubbed, was a testament to her determination to create a brighter future for her little boy. As the days turned into weeks, the financial strain weighed heavily on Helen's shoulders. The award rate Mr. Thornton paid her provided a lifeline, but the demands of her job were pushing her to the brink. Helen's love for Luke was the guiding light that kept her going, even when the darkness of uncertainty threatened to engulf her. Little did she know, in her struggle, she would find herself entangled in a risky game that would change the course of her life. One evening, after putting Luke to bed and reflecting on the mounting pressure, Helen decided she had reached a breaking point. The disparity between her hard work and Mr. Thornton's demands felt unbearable. It was then that a risky idea formed in her mind, a way to level the playing field, if only for a moment. Determined to change her circumstances, she began to formulate a plan. With the soft glow of her laptop illuminating her determined face, Helen delved into the vast realm of the internet. Her search history became a reflection of her desperation and determination. How to spike a drink without causing harm? What would make Mr. Thornton doze off, oblivious to her actions? As she scrolled through articles and forums, a plan took shape in her mind. Fueled by the information she found online, Helen carefully crafted a plan to spike Mr. Thornton's drink without causing harm. Late one afternoon, she seized the opportunity when Mr. Thornton, as usual, asked her to bring him a drink into his office. Helen's heart pounded as she approached the task. The concoction was hidden in a discreet container. She served him the spiked drink with a practiced smile. As Mr. Thornton sipped, oblivious to the hidden agenda, Helen's mind raced with a mix of anxiety and determination. Just a quick interruption. I would be extremely grateful if you could spare a moment to like and subscribe. Continuing on. The plan worked like a charm. Mr. Thornton dozed off in his office, providing Helen with a window of opportunity. She moved through the mansion like a shadow, selecting items strategically. Each item she chose was carefully selected with a purpose. It wasn't about grabbing the most valuable or extravagant pieces. It was about taking what wouldn't be immediately missed. In the dimly lit rooms, Helen's hands moved swiftly, her eyes scanning for items that could provide a financial lifeline. She chose jewelry that seemed to blend into the background, art pieces that wouldn't leave an obvious void on the walls, and other trinkets she believed Mr. Thornton wouldn't notice gone. As she gathered her ill-gotten gains, a mix of guilt and determination fueled her actions. These stolen treasures weren't just a means of rebellion against her demanding employer. They were a desperate attempt to secure a better life for Luke. In her mind, each item carried the weight of unpaid bills and the looming specter of financial struggle. Before she left to go home, she could hear Mr. Thornton waking up. She heard him muttering to himself. Her heart was beating so fast. Little did Helen know that the path she had chosen, driven by the need to survive, would lead her into deeper waters, where the consequences of her actions would become far more complex and dangerous. The next day unfolded as if nothing had happened. Mr. Thornton, unaware of the events that transpired in his office the previous day, continued with his demanding routine. Helen, with a practiced smile, carried out her duties, concealing the secret she held close to her chest. As the days turned into a week, the mansion remained an illusion of normalcy. The stolen items seamlessly blended back into their surroundings, leaving no trace of Helen's daring escapade. Emboldened by the apparent success, she waited for the opportune moment to strike again. A week later, the familiar routine played out once more. Mr. Thornton, trusting and unsuspecting, sipped from the drink Helen served with a practiced smile. As he drifted into a peaceful slumber, Helen moved through the mansion, her choices guided by the same calculated strategy as before. The pattern repeated over the next month, each theft carefully executed with the hope of securing a stable future for Luke. However, with each successful heist, the risk increased. The mansion, once a symbol of wealth and privilege, became a backdrop for Helen's desperate quest for financial security. Yet, unbeknownst to her, the stakes were about to change. The next time she embarked on this risky venture, the consequences would take a darker turn, altering the course of Helen's life in ways she could never have anticipated. As the moments ticked by, Helen's concern deepened. The realization that Mr. Thornton wasn't waking up sent shivers down her spine. Anxiety gnawed at her as she hesitated outside his office, the weight of her actions settling heavily on her shoulders. Summoning every ounce of courage, Helen cautiously pushed the door open. The room seemed frozen in time, and the air hung heavy with the consequences of her choices. Her heart raced as she approached the lifeless figure of Mr. Thornton, his stillness amplifying the gravity of the situation. In a desperate attempt to deny the truth, Helen shook him gently, pleading for a sign of life. The room echoed with her futile attempts, but Mr. Thornton remained unresponsive. Panic surged through her, and with trembling hands she checked for a pulse, only to be met with the cold reality of death. In a state of shock, Helen's mind raced. Panic surged through her veins as she assessed the situation. With trembling hands, she snatched the glass that held the spiked drink, disposing of it in a bin on her way to collect Luke from childcare. She held her composure, shielding her son from the unfolding tragedy. Once she had tucked Luke into bed, the weight of the events crashed down on Helen. Tears streamed down her face as the gravity of what had transpired sank in. Guilt, fear, and regret intertwined in a tumultuous mix of emotions. The next day, which happened to be her day off, offered no reprieve. As Helen navigated her day, the air thick with tension, a sudden chill ran down her spine. The television screen flickered with breaking news: the unexpected death of Mr. Thornton. The room seemed to close in around her as the reality of her actions played out on the screen, setting in motion a series of events that would forever change the course of Helen's life. The next day unfolded with a chilling knock on Helen's door. The air hummed thick with tension as she opened it to find two stern-faced police officers standing on her doorstep. They asked her questions about Mr. Thornton, his routine, and the events of the previous day. Helen, her heart pounding, maintained her composure, insisting that he was working in his office as usual when she left. The officers, seemingly satisfied with her responses, thanked her and left. But as the door closed behind them, Helen's trembling hands betrayed the turmoil within. The weight of the situation pressed down on her, and she felt a growing sense of dread. The following day, the news on television delivered an unexpected twist. Mr. Thornton's daughter, her face solemn, revealed that her father had a history of heart trouble. He had suffered a heart attack a couple of years ago. He was taking heart medication. Relief washed over Helen as she realized the police were leaning towards the possibility of a heart attack. The burden of guilt began to lift, and a sense of fortunate escape settled in. It seemed that the truth of her desperate actions might remain hidden, a secret she vowed to carry with her. Determined to reshape her life, Helen seized the opportunity provided by the items she sold, lifting the shadow of financial struggles. With newfound stability, she immersed herself in work and studies, striving for a degree and better opportunities. Despite her progress, a lingering guilt stayed with Helen, a reminder of past mistakes. However, she used this remorse as fuel for positive change, becoming a devoted mother and responsible member of society. If you enjoyed this story, then I know you will enjoy the story about a mother who changes her will. Much to the shock of everyone, it's a great ending, well worth watching. Until next time, bye for now.